Hello there. Today we'll be talking about portals and dimensions. Now, portal is a gateway or a doorway to a dimension. A dimension is a realm that's above this earth realm. A different earth, a different realm, a different reality. Now, we're going to be mentioning a few persons who have operated in these dimensions and how they did it, and if possible, how you can operate in your own dimension. Okay, now there's one thing I want you to be sure of. There's an element that we're not paying attention to in this earth realm. It's music. Music is one element that was not made in this earth realm. The only element that is not made in this earth realm but exists and is very effective in this earth realm. And can I tell you a cheap secret? The fastest way to access a portal, the fastest way to connect with a dimension is through music. Music is not necessarily singing. Making of sounds is music and all of that. And it has no limit. Okay? Now, I'm going to be mentioning a few things here, and I just hope it helps someone. You cannot conquer the universe by fighting it. You only win by yielding yourself to it. You have to know this fact that the universe is older, smarter, and stronger than every being that exists in this earth realm and any other earth realm that exists. Okay, so if you need to effect any change or make any contribution to this earth realm or this timeline, you need to yield to the force of the universe. You don't fight it. When you fight it, you lose. That's why sometimes we go around having issues with some people or some things that we call situations. Those situations are meant to be yielded into. Now, when you yield into it, it's easy and it's flawless. There are some things that are inevitable. There are some things that are in your power to change. When you find that thing that's in your power to change, you can change it. But the ones that are inevitable, you have to let the universe handle it. When you try to handle it, it will cause more chaos and will make more harm than good. Okay, now I'll give you an instance with the wave in the sea. There's a current in a wave, the current in the sea. All right, when you fight the wave would kill you. You have to find a way to flow with the current of the sea. All right, I'm using the sea for instance because it is very powerful, but you can still manipulate. You can still flow with it. When you flow with it, every other thing that comes with it will yield to you. So it's about giving and taking. So you have to first of all submit to it, then it can come to you. Same thing with the other elements that we know of. For you to actually control those elements, you have to yield first of all to those elements, and then every other thing start to flow. Okay, I wrote down a few things, so I'll be reading them out for you. Souls are ineffective and weak in a parallel dimension unless enforced or empowered. All right. Now this means that in a parallel dimension, okay, every soul is dormant. Every soul is just there. But the only way the soul becomes effective and very powerful is when it is being enforced. How do you enforce the soul? You have to grow the spirit to enforce the soul. Okay? The soul is usually very weak. But the only way the soul can be strong in a parallel dimension is when the spirit is powerful enough to enforce the soul. Now, the spirit can only be powerful in a place of knowledge. It is what you know that empowers your spirit man. Okay? Don't forget that we are spirit beings and we have a soul that lives in a body. So you as a spirit man, your spirit has to grow in a place of knowledge, and you have to accept some certain realities and work with them. Don't forget I said you have to yield first before it gives you whatever it's embedded in. All right? So for anybody to be protected or to be powerful in the realm of the dimension at which you're operating on, you have to first of all empower your soul. Okay? You empower your soul. Your spirit man can empower your soul. Now, the reason why some people are hypnotized or bewitched is because their soul is weak and their spirit is unaware, I beg your pardon, of where they are, who they are, and what they are. Okay? Now you need to know this, that every day we walk through portals. Like Africa is one place that has a lot of portals. There are a lot of portals that you've been passing through, you don't even know. Now that portal is going to be ineffective because you do not know. In as much as you're unaware of your environment, you are ejected from that dimension. All right? You can't function in a dimension that you do not know. Sometimes we access some portals. You hear sometimes the scripture will say that I think Jacob was saying that the Lord was here and I knew it not. Yes, until he knew that the Lord was there and that there was an access route, a portal that was connecting from one dimension to the other, which is why he saw angels ascending and descending. Okay, that was when he was able to have the encounter that transformed him from Jacob, Jacob, to Israel. All right, so you need to know that the place of knowledge is above everything. Okay, some people are not cannot be hypnotized. Why? Because their spirit is linked, synchronized with their soul, and their soul is as powerful as their spirit. That's why they can't be hypnotized, and that's why they can't be bewitched. Okay, just follow me. The other thing I wrote here was that when the soul is conscious of its existence, then it starts to function in the dimension. The soul has to be aware of its existence. Sometimes you go through in and out of a dimension you don't even know, and then when your soul starts to play it out, it will now reflect to you as deja vu. You'll be like, oh no, I have been here before. I think I've seen this day. I think I've done this and I've done. Yes, you actually went in and out of a particular dimension. Now, some dimensions are not easily accessed because of what is in that dimension. For you to function in certain dimension, you have to consciously study, all right, and know how to access those dimensions. So I'm going to give you a few examples of people who have operated in dimensions, and then I'll just read the Bible verses. I'll quote the Bible verses, and then you can read them on your own. We'll read a few because of our time. The first example here was Moses. Moses in the book of Exodus chapter 17 verse 11, you remember when he was lifting up his hands and Israel was winning. Whenever his hands come down, Israel will lose, and that Aaron and Hur had to hold his hands to keep them lifted up. Now I wonder what was he doing? Now he was a man of knowledge. He was able to travel through another dimension. Now in that dimension, Israel had already conquered and was victorious. So lifting up his hands is a sign of our victory. And then the more he's saying victory, Israel is winning. But when he brings his hands down, Israel will lose. Now that is the existence in the dimension. Now I believe you must have heard words like the spirit is the mother of the physical. Yes. What it means is that an older dimension is the mother of the physical dimension. An older dimension is the mother of physical dimension. Just like some people will say an older earth. There are like other earths and all of that. So, but the thing is, you don't have access to them, right? You don't have access to them. So, but when you have access to them, you can conquer. So it's like traveling in time, going ahead of time and coming back. So if you win in the future, in the present, you already win. Okay? All right. I just hope I'm not confusing you, but you have to research and dig in some more to understand it. And in the book of Exodus chapter 34, verse 29, when he had an encounter with Yahweh, the Lord Most High said that you can see my face, but you can see my back. So at that point, he was in a different dimension. In that dimension, it was not the earth realm that they were in. Okay? Anytime you have an encounter with divinity, you are not in this dimension. No, it cannot be in this dimension. All right. So it's deeper than it looks. It sounds rather. So he was not in the dimension. That was why when he came back, the Bible says his face was radiating like the sun. Why? Because he came out from a dimension of glory, from a dimension of power. There was a particular force that operates in that dimension. Remember in the book of Revelation, he said that in the new heaven and the new earth there will be no sun, neither there will be moon or stars, that his glory would shine. So it is the glory that is the sun. Don't forget that our Lord Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiach, is the Son of righteousness. He's the rising Son of righteousness. Now, he reflects and shines like the sun. So you have to know these things. So Moses actually operated in a dimension way beyond the understanding of any human. Okay, and that's no surprise that his successor Joshua was able to do things in that manner. Okay, all right, and that's that. So talking about Joshua is the next person. Joshua chapter 10 verse 13, where he was able to travel in time and stop the sun. Yes, he stopped the sun. Yeah, so he was able to control the sun to stop, so he can conquer, because in that he has seen it in the next dimension that is above the dimension they are, that for him to conquer those people, those nations, he needs to do it in the day. There needs to be daylight. So he needed to stop the sun. All right, and that's the reason why we have leap year today, because one day was missing. So it's just a thing of time travel. Now another very interesting man is Elijah. Elijah is a man that was in and out of different dimensions, and he had control of elements, a lot of elements. Okay, and he actually had control on the fire, element fire. He had control element wind. He had control of the element water, and he had control of the element earth. So he was everywhere. He was everywhere. So let's see, you read the book of 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 1846, where he told Ahab to just go, I will meet you. And the Bible said he gathered up his loins and overran the chariot of Ahab. Now, let me ask you a question. How can you listening to me right now outrun a bike? Now, not just that the bike started running at the same time with you. The bike had maybe left like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then you were able to outrun it. That is travel. He was able to travel with the wind, okay, through a dimension. Just know that portal, and then you can run through it. All right. And 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 11, when he was taken up to heaven and all that, he was taken with his body, soul, and spirit. Now, there's something I want to say here before I mention the next person. That a dimension, traveling in dimension, is different from traveling in the realm of the spirit. Okay? Traveling in the realm of the spirit is you traveling in your spirit. So your spirit man can travel. Like when Elisha told Gehazi that when you went to see that man, my spirit was with you. All right, that's him traveling. So you can travel with the spirit, and you can equally travel with the soul, which is what they call out of body movement, which is soul travel, where people can actually use their soul, based on what they have committed themselves to travel from one realm to the other. So, but in dimensional travel, it is body, soul, and spirit. Yes. Now, all of these people I mentioned, whatever exercise they did in those dimensions was body, soul, and spirit. One man that did that too was Enoch. Enoch too traveled with his body, soul, and spirit. All right. The same thing Elijah did. Okay. Now Moses too, his body, though his body was preserved and he was taken off.